this is just part of one of the verses in the song. There's 3 lines. Because it's written as a rap, there's no full stops or punctuation already to help us out. And because it is a rap, even though I could have probably put some of these into sentences as I wrote it out, when you think about these verses, they often don't have to. They could be one whole sentence if you wanted to. So I haven't like erased the punctuation just for the heck of it. It's kind of, the lyrics are where you start from. And that's why I thought looking at clauses would be helpful, rather than thinking about things like punctuation. Yeah. So I feel like my entry-level knowledge is I don't really need to understand where a sentence could begin and end, because if I wanted to do that myself, I could. But what would you say around like where the clauses in something like this begin? Like, does caring about clauses, is that a hot tip? Is there anything interesting happening in this song? Would you like me to read it to you?
Yeah, maybe.
All right. And we can listen to the song in the break.
Because to read it, essentially, you have to understand where the clauses are.
You have to hear the sound to be able to get an idea of the breaks.
Yeah, so you have an innate sense of where the clauses are, but I can help you work out how to find them.
Okay, all right. And by all means, add things to this.
That's okay.
It's a matter of perspective, and you're standing at the precipice. There's always a solution regardless of what the method is. Where you go depends on wherever you place the emphasis, but always know the road worth taking is far from effortless. It's like the spoken version. I'm not going to try and sing it, but we could listen to it sung if you think that would help.
So I guess what I would do to scaffold thinking around finding clauses is to ask probably 3 questions. The first, always, what's the main thing that's going on? So in this first part, and I'm going to just use terms loosely, right? Because it's a rap, and so we might not call it a sentence because we're not really sure where it ends. Okay. You can play outside. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too.
All right, bring them over here. They're outside, grab them.
So if I said to you in this first part, what's the main thing that's going on? Is
the standing at the precipice.
Okay, so the standing is the thing that's happening.
Okay.
Right? So, before you go outside, can you please do me a favour? Can you get me a blue and red? Give me blue and red. And what this starts to do is you start to work out the meaning, and then you can see the phrases and clauses then from there, because each phrase and clause has a different job, which is what creates the meaning, right? And so if you can ask yourself what job it's doing and work out what meaning's being created, it can help you understand why it's being broken up in that way. Thank you. Thanks. So standing is the main thing that's happening, right? I know that this word here is a conjunction, and so it's joining 2 main ideas together.
The word and.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is just break this bit up here.
Because it's a matter of perspective. And
stands on its own.
You're standing at the precipice. Those are 2 things.
Yeah, so if we were to break it up so that there was a full stop there, and that's the sentence, we know that there are 2 ideas that are joined together by the and. I'm just taking you through my logic of thinking.
Go for it. Yeah.
And so if standing at the precipice, right, that makes meaning on its own, right? Yeah, standing at the precipice. So the main thing that's going on is someone or something is standing. We don't know who or what that is.
See, I already get caught up there. Yeah. When you say standing at the precipice, does that make sense on its own? And I was like, yep. When I paused for a bit to think about it, I'm like, no, because who? So standing at the precipice, that idea of making sense on its own.
Yeah, it's already... you're standing at the precipice.
Do you need the you're? Because I would...
Yeah, because that's the who.
Okay, good.
So your logic is the logic that works, right?
Okay.
You say what's going on,
All right.
and then you say who or what. So the first question is
Yeah.
what's going on,
Okay.
right? And then you ask who or what in relation to the doing or whatever is going on.
And can I interject to tell you what I think about that, just so
Yeah.
that you can see where my professional knowledge is at?
Yeah.
So I would say that what is going on is going to be related to the verb.
Yep.
That verb might be in something that's called a verb phrase. Maybe
Yes.
that matters or it doesn't.
Yep.
And that in functional linguistics we call that a process.
Yep.
And that the who or what is
Yeah.
related to the noun,
Yep.
which sometimes appears in a noun phrase. And that
Yeah.
in functional linguistics that's related to the participants. Like that's what we call the participants.
Yeah. You bang on.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I guess that's good that you know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got, and technically, are standing.
You are standing at the precipice.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
are standing is the process,
Okay.
and we call verb group, as you.
Okay.
Okay, so, and its job tells us what's going on, and then we ask who or what. So you.
Mhm.
And that's the participant. In
Yep.
this case, it's a pronoun referring to you. And then we've got this at the precipice bit,
Mhm.
right? So this goes together as a phrase, right? Because, and the reason I know that is because it's got a preposition,
Which is the at.
which is at, and then the precipice is a noun group. And when
Okay.
you've got a preposition and a noun group, it's a prepositional phrase.
And I would work out some of that
Yeah.
by saying, okay, precipice is a noun, it's describing a thing. And then I would say to myself, yeah, but which precipice?
Right.
And the sentence says, well, it's the precipice. So that's what it tells me which one. And then when I say, I don't understand, tell me again about at. What does at do?
It's a preposition. So
Also, where is the precipice?
no.
No.
Well, these phrases are going to do one of two things. They're either going to tell us more about the who or what, or they're going to tell us more about what's going on.
I think this is what really starts to be a barrier for me, is once you start drawing a circle around a phrase or start thinking about a phrase, I find it so hard to think about it as well as its relationship to the rest of the sentence at the same time. So for example, just then, because you'd drawn a circle around at the precipice, I'm now only thinking about how at relates to what's in the circle. And so when you just said,
I'll
oh,
get to
at
that.
does many things, I'm like, oh, really? Because it's in the purple circle.
Yeah, right. Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, if you think about the meaning of the sentence, what job does at the precipice do? Does it tell us more about the standing, or does it tell us more about you?
It's in between. It's standing. It tells me where I'm at.
Yeah. So it's where the standing is happening. You're not standing at
The bus stop.
bus stop, right? It tells you where the going on is happening.
Yeah, it doesn't tell me more about me. It tells me more about the
Right.
going on.
That's right. So it's a
Okay.
circumstance,
Okay.
right? So circumstances give you all the extra information about the what's going on.
And that's the third part of the recipe. You get processes and participants and circumstances. And that's it, right? If I just want to be a functional grammar pro, I can start by understanding that there are those three basic blocks and everything else is
Everything's built.
detail.
Everything else builds on, well, I guess you can build ideas from that.
Okay.
But I mean, this doesn't necessarily teach you about conjunctions,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like you've got to still got to know what a conjunction is.
Okay. All right.
And conjunctions are great for
They're gra-
cohesion.
And I think they're grammatical words, not lexical words or something like that.
Yes.
I don't know.
Correct.
Okay.
So lexical words are the words that carry the meaning throughout.
Yeah.
So if I said the cockroach, the crazy little critter, the creepy crawlies in the night. Like they're all the lexical words that carry meaning. Yeah. Okay, so we've got you are standing at the precipice. So we now have a thing that's going on, the standing. We've got the who or what is standing, which is you. And then we've got at the precipice, which is a circumstance that tells us where the standing is happening. Okay. Now I know this is a phrase and not a clause because it doesn't have a verb in it.
At the precipice.
Yeah, okay. And I know that it's a prepositional phrase because at is a preposition, which tells us where, right? Which is what prepositions do. They position ideas and things and, right? And so that's another clue to tell us the job of that phrase because it starts with a preposition. It's probably going to tell us where something's going on.
How many kinds of phrases are there?
There are two main kinds of phrases, if I remember correctly. So there are prepositional phrases and
the other kind.
just stopped in my brain. Hang on a second. Prepositional phrases and relative clauses are usually the circumstances or an expansion of description in the noun group.
Okay.
So that's a good question. I can't remember.
We'll bank that.
We'll bank that and we'll work that out.
Yep.
So you've got prepositional. There has to be others, but my brain hasn't done this clearly. Are made up of a preposition plus a noun group.
Okay. Because the noun group has to be somewhere. So that's why you give it a position.
Yes.
Okay.
Because in this case, it's telling us where.
Okay.
Yeah. But circumstances can tell you where, when, how, or why. So they're all the extra, the circumstances surrounding the main thing that's going on.
Okay.
Yeah. So these get a bit trickier. But that's the crux of it, right? Yeah, just ask what's the main thing that's going on, who or what's doing it,
Yeah.
and then everything else is either where, when, why, how.
Okay. See, that seems interesting to me. But then the business of finding out where a clause begins and ends sounds non-interesting to me.
Yeah.
But are we already doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
So what are these brackets that you're putting around things, are they clauses or phrases?
Clause. So this is a clause because it has contained meaning on its own. So if I say, you are standing at the precipice,
Yeah.
it makes sense on its own.
It's got a participant, a process. And this one happens to have some circumstances.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to have all of those.
Well, yeah, I got stuck on this because
Yeah.
if you yell, like if a kid goes to run across the street
Stop!
and I yell stop,
That's
it's a
right.
one-word sentence, but it contains meaning. So you don't always have to have X, Y, and Z. That's old-fashioned grammar knowledge that we need
Correct.
to correct in our
Well,
graduates.
Most of the time, it'll have a verb in it.
Sure, but that's
Like
most of the
stop.
time. And it confuses people to say things like all sentences must have a noun and a verb because it's just not true. But it is true that they mostly tend to. But that's very different.
But you can use devices like ellipsis, right?
Yeah.
Where you assume that the reader will insert that word
Yes.
or that idea or that thing or whatever in there, right?
Yeah.
And so that's useful for cohesion also. Just thought I'd add.
Oh, don't even start on cohesion. I'm better at cohesion though.
So does that answer what?
So it answers number one question, which is that if we put a full stop there and assumed this was a sentence, that yes, now I'm pretty confident I can find two clauses in here, and I'm pretty confident that I could talk a little bit about how those clauses are working.
But
Would I say what am I doing?
Let's say we could put a full stop here.
Yeah. Well, just do any of these have subclauses?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by subclause.
Well, there are a lot of things
Oh.
around English knowledge that just use that as a list. Sentences, clauses, and subclauses. And
Yeah.
you go, oh my gosh, what's a
So,
subclause?
If we were to put a full stop here,
At the
just
end of
play
solution.
devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And it says it's a matter of perspective, and you're standing at the precipice. There's always a solution.
Yeah, full stop.
Full stop. Could that work? Yep,
Yeah.
it could.
Sounds abrupt, but yep.
Yep. So this then would be a subclause because it's got a verb in it. Right? And
But no new nouns, no new people.
no.
Why is it a subclause? Why isn't it a clause on its
Okay.
own?
Because it's adding more information to either the main thing that's going on, right, or the who or the what.
And Kelly,
Okay.
we're making a feast downstairs.
A feast?
Yeah,
Are you?
from the garden.
Great.
When?
Are you making an appropriate feast? Like you're not pulling off green tomatoes, are you?
No.
Okay, good. Then that's fine.
You're going to eat what you make?
Yeah. Come down here. We picked some strawberries that are really ripe.
Look at there's always a solution. How would you say it's adding meaning?
Well, it doesn't yet much. It's a matter of perspective. So probably that's what they're trying to get perspective about, is whether or not there's a solution. Because standing on a precipice doesn't really have much to do with looking for a solution necessarily, but the perspective stuff does. Like it doesn't have meaning yet.
Okay, so it probably doesn't belong in that sentence.
It's a matter of perspective, and you're standing at the precipice. No, it doesn't belong in that sentence.
Okay, so
Unless it keeps going. That's why I think this either has to be treated as one long sentence that doesn't stop,
yeah,
or broken up and each line is its own sentence. Because
Yeah.
I do think each line has a self-contained thought.
yep.
Like,
So if this doesn't add anything to this, then we can. That's how you decide a sentence boundary, right?
okay. Yeah, right. I guess so.
Yeah, but so we could do that, right?
So it might just be the case that this piece of writing has no subclauses, which is why we
Correct.
could sit here all day trying to find them and feel stupid because there's actually none.
Yeah, but I can give you an example of one,
Okay, yeah,
if that would help.
yeah.
Tell me your favorite animal.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, just pick an animal. Then.
A lion.
Lions.
there you go.
Okay, let's go lions.
It's song appropriate. Yeah.
Okay, so lions is going to be like the head noun, the main thing in our sentence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you call it anything besides a head now?
A noun.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah. In this case, it's the name.
You and I are just going to struggle with a head noun. Like, how do teachers do this?
I'll explain because
Okay.
there's lots of nouns in the group, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But we want to be able to identify what the main thing is that the sentence is about.
Gotcha.
And the main thing that the sentence is about, we identify as a head noun.
Okay.
Because everything else can be around that,
Okay.
right? So let's put in some words before the head noun.
Okay.
So tell me about the lions.
They are like golden
Okay, so let's say
and hungry.
the the golden lions. Let's keep it really simple to start
Okay.
with.
Mummy,
Golden lions.
I want to tell you,
Yeah.
we have got some of these. You can only suck on these.
Okay.
Suck on them.
Thanks.
They taste delicious.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
keep them here for later.
I might save. We might save some and put them in our mash
That's a good idea.
potato. and
What are
sweet
you
potato.
doing?
We're trying to work out some sentences.
Ooh, after you.
Do you want to
Two.
help?
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about.
do a sentence.
Okay, sure.
Isabel, we need to finish up this.
Okay, so the golden lions,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that is an article.
Okay.
But it also tells us which lions we're talking about.
Yes.
Right? So in functional grammar, we would call it a pointer. It tells us which ones.
See, that's so much more useful knowing. Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care that it's an article. Like,
I
that sounds
know.
like trivia to me.
Yeah. This is
okay.
why we love functional grammar.
Okay.
Yeah. And then golden is an adjective.
Yep.
But in functional grammar, we would call it a describer.
Yep.
And you would call it, there's 3 different types of describers. So you can have a factual describer, an evaluative describer, or a comparative describer. So the loudest lions.
Yeah.
Right?
What's a fact? What do I think? How does it compare?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's so great when you're doing genre work, right? Because you've got
What's information?
purpose of the text, and it helps you pick the right words, and it also helps you be like critical, because if you're reading a factual text and it's got evaluative describers in it, it can help you understand how the author's positioning you.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I knew I'd find a way to make you love it.
No, but that's the thing is, I don't know. I find it more easy to apply that with the persuasive text stuff.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
seems more boring when I'm doing literary analysis. I want to find the parallelisms. I want to find the metaphors. I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
find the fun stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But I guess if you know that in a literary text you can use these types of evaluative describers with literal poetic license,
Yeah.
that's powerful, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Okay, so let's put some things after it. Tell me more about the lions. The golden lions.
Well, they were hungry.
That were hungry.
Yeah.
That were hungry. And now let's add a prepositional phrase. So tell me where the lions are. The golden lions that were hungry.
Roamed.
No, that's a verb.
Really?
Yeah. We can put that on the end. Roamed can be our verb. So think
Why
of the
can't I
preposition,
just say like
so-
they roamed the jungle?
Because I want to show you the difference.
Oh, so I can,
between-
but you want a different example.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you can do that, but I just want to.
The golden
So
lions.
near, behind, beside, around, on, below, beneath. Use any of those prepositional words.
Golden lions that were hungry.
Under the trees.
Sure. Yeah, under the trees.
Under the
It's
trees.
a garbled sentence. My gosh, why do I
Yes.
care that they're hungry and under a tree at the same time?
I
But
know,
anyway.
right? And then what did you say? What was your verb?
Well, I was going to say they're roamed, but now they're under trees, so they're going to do that.
That were hungry under the trees.
Licked
don't
their wounds.
they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's more of a story.
Licked
Right.
their wounds. Okay. So go back to our 3 main questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on? What's the main thing that they're doing?
Well, they're licking their wounds
Yep.
is the main thing.
Yep. So this is our process. Licked. And who or what is doing the licking?
The lions, the golden lions.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a head noun, but you're right. The golden lions forms part of that noun group.
Phrase, yeah.
Yep. Now we've got that were hungry under the trees. Now I know that under is a preposition, so this is
What are you writing about?
we're writing about lions, but we're trying to work out what each bit of the sentence means and how it works, how it does its job to make meaning. So, what does under the trees do? What's its job?
It tells you where they are.
It tells you more about the lions or more about the licking.
The lions.
Okay, so it still belongs with the noun group.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it's still part of the participant group.
Yeah.
Okay, and we know it's a preposition plus another noun group.
Oh, I see what you're doing here. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so you now have this noun and this noun. But the licking is not about the trees.
No.
Okay, the under the trees is giving us more description about the lion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
and then we've got that were hungry.
Yeah.
So we've actually got another verb here. Oh, that's confusing.
Yeah.
How do we know? Is it the were that's acting as the process? No, we already know that the main thing that's going on is the licked.
Yeah.
So what's this doing? That we're hungry.
It's telling us more about the lions again.
Boom. So that's a relative clause. So we've got this lovely big noun group, which is made up of a sub-clause.
Which is actually 3 noun groups, right? Or do you call that one?
It's one noun group.
Okay.
This is a pre-modifier and post-modifiers.
I'm really struggling to care about that.
Yeah, okay. That's fine.
Okay.
It doesn't actually matter.
So what is interesting to know then? Just that it's more interesting to notice that these are 3 groups of ideas about the noun? And is this what you would then say, well, this is a complex sentence and that's why it's interesting?
This is not a complex sentence.
Oh, okay.
No, not really.
Okay.
Because you've got one noun group,
Yeah.
a process.
With 3 sub-clauses? Like, what do you...
So this is a relational clause, because that is a... What do you call it?
I can't find another big.
What you need to know is this is a clause and this is a phrase, right? And they're both adding meaning to the head noun.
I can't know that. That's too much. And my graduates are by and large not going to know that within the first 5 years of graduating. Maybe, no, because what you've just started to show me some really interesting stuff. But when you say the golden lions is the main stuff, and then you called this a relational clause, and this a phrase,
Yeah.
why the F do they have different names?
Because one's got a verb and one doesn't. And you need to know that this is not the main verb in the sentence. Because this is what kids do, is they'll say, the golden lions that were hungry, full stop. My sentence has a verb. But what they don't understand, right, because they say this is a verb, right?
Oh, well, who taught them to do that?
Well, that's what I'm...
No, but seriously, who taught them to do that
I
then?
know, right? But if you don't get the more... Because people teach them that a sentence has a verb in it.
See, so let me break this down for you. A secondary teacher who doesn't understand this,
Yeah.
not only doesn't understand it,
Yeah.
but doesn't understand that someone might have incorrectly in that student's life taught them
Yeah.
your sentence is fine as long as it's got a verb in it. Sentences stop there. So there's such a lack of... I have a lack of ability to diagnose what the student is misunderstanding there.
Yeah. Well, this is what they're misunderstanding.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a clause that adds meaning to this.
Instead of to the verb.
Correct. Or instead of being the main verb.
Instead of being a main verb.
Yeah, or a
So-
process.
Yeah, right. So they haven't understood that every sentence... No, not even every sentence. Yeah, every sentence has a process and a participant. It's just that some of those sentences like, stop, it's implied. Stop, you.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So,
You
and
stop,
that's
yeah.
the ellipsis does the work. They're
Yeah.
actually always there. They're just implied
Can
sometimes.
I?
And isn't that essentially what we want every person to walk away from a grammar lesson understanding? Is that sentences are just idea blocks
Yeah.
that tell you about who
Yeah.
and what they're doing,
Yeah.
or what and what that's
Yeah.
happening to them.
And so...
And sometimes you get to know the circumstances too.
Correct. Yeah. So in this case here, their wounds is another noun group.
Yeah.
So this tells you the who, this tells you the what.
Yeah.
Can I help?
Oh, you can watch.
And
I
this
can't
is-
even help. I'm doing the listening.
This is the happening.
Okay.
So you've got what's happening, who or what. This sentence doesn't even have any circumstances yet.
Okay.
All right. We don't know where the licking is going on. Is it on the leg? Is it on the...
Yeah.
No, we don't know how. Like,
Is
we
it
could
on the
say...
head?
We could say the golden lions that were hungry under the trees licked their wounds slowly,
Yeah.
right? And slowly
Is the
is a circumstance that tells us more about the licked,
Okay.
not more about the lions.
Yeah, or if that was a comma and then the sentence kept going, it might tell us more about the reasons why. You know, they hungry under the trees, licked their wounds after they had been attacked by the giant pack of hyenas who were blah blah. Like it could keep going.
That's right.
With more circumstances, but these would probably stay the same main idea and the main happening, right? The circumstances could just keep cascading after this.
Yeah. Well, you can shift them around. Circumstances are sneaky. You can shift them anywhere in the sentence. I could say, slowly, the golden lions that were hungry under the trees licked to their wounds. Right? So you can move circumstances around in a sentence.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always go as neatly as this, but it's just a good example. Walter. He's like, please bat me.
Okay.
And
see, this is actually really interesting for poetry study. I think the thing that throws people off about throws a lot of my students off about doing this kind of close language work with a novel or a short story is there's too many sentences.
that's right.
Like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
I can achieve this and do a close study of a picture book or a poem and really get close and understand some cool things.
So, let me tell you some other bits and pieces as to why this is helpful.
Yeah.
So, if you're studying a novel and you say to the kids, okay, who's the main character? And what are all the words that, like, who's the main character? Let's talk about how the author describes them, right? So they know to go to look for these groups of words that tell us more about the head now.
But for how long? For 350 pages?
Well, no, but...
but that's what I mean, like, where do you stop?
But you can do things like you can say, okay, well, in the first chapter, how does the author set up the character for us?
And then you can compare, like, extracts from chapter 1
and
to
you can
chapter
say,
4.
That's right. And you can say, here's the
change?
evidence. In chapter 1, the author uses these describing words for the character. And you can...
But can't I just
and
do
you
that
can
by knowing
scan.
adjectives? Why do I have to know all of this?
No, because the adjectives could be...
For the verbs.
Boom.
Because adjective is just a label for a word type.
That's right.
It's got...
When you talk about character motivation, guess what you're looking at?
The verbs.
Processes and the circumstances surrounding them.
Yeah, okay. Why? Is that their motivation?
Well, because we know what characters are motivated, we can infer their motivation by the things that they do, right?
Right.
And so it's like that show, don't tell, right? So you know to go and look for the processes, not the describing words,
Okay.
right? And you know, there's some authors do some really cool things with processes. So like in the beginning of a novel, there'll be lots of relational processes like is and are and right, because there's not a lot of action going on. The author's doing lots of description of the characters and the setting, right? So you're going to have nice, rich, expanded noun groups, not a lot of action or whatever, right?
Or in a postmodern story, they might keep
Start
that
with
keep that from you for a while,
right.
And so you'll notice that it's an absence until it shows up.
Yeah. But if you're looking at like a stock standard novel, I suppose, like when you get to like you'll have a series of events, you know, that sit usually within each chapter, and then, you know, there's lots of action or things happening. So you're going to see lots more powerful choices in action verbs, potentially, and lots more circumstances describing what's going on, because it's the what's going on that's important in that part of the story.
Yeah, right.
And then, like, for the coda, you're going to see more verbs that do jobs of telling us about emotions, like sensing verbs and thinking verbs. Right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's like understanding all the tricks, right?
Yeah,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I've done this with like grade 6 kids where I've gone, okay, I want you to find 6 main processes out of the first chapter. And then where do we think the main action is happening? Probably, you know, chapter 7, because this is the main thing. So let's have a look at the action verbs. How does the author increase the intensity of the story and the meaning in the story? And you can like map out those words and it becomes plain as day.
Yeah, you're doing like now a discourse analysis, but with year 6. And
Yeah. But what's helpful about it is because there's so many words, they know which words to look for and how they work.
Yeah.
So instead of I guess I can see, like you said, I can really see the benefit of it, like when you're looking at meaning making in shorter sentences. But I think what happens is you've got kids in grades 7, 8, 9, 10 or whatever who don't get that core understanding, right? So they're reading sentence after sentence after sentence after sentence and not getting necessarily the main thing that's going on.
But how can they not? It's just so hard as someone who's always read well and in my first language to comprehend that someone can read a sentence
Yeah.
and not glean what is the main thing.
Come here. Can I ask you something? I'm going to read you a sentence and I want you to tell me what the lions were doing, okay? Right? It says, the golden lions that were hungry under the trees licked their wounds. What did the lions do?
They lick.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Good job. Where were they?
Under the tree.
Oh, yeah. And what were they doing? Licking what?
Their wound.
Their wounds. And how are they feeling?
Happy.
How do you know?
If they were... Let me read the sentence again. The golden lions that...
Exactly. Because why are you asking me all of these questions? It's trivia.
Yeah, but if the hungry bit is important for setting up the problem in the story
Yeah.
and she misses that,
Yeah.
then you're
Yeah.
screwed.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's not that I'm discounting the importance of it. Not at all. I'm just trying to understand how to keep a learner motivated to stick with it long enough. Like I'm highly motivated today to stick with it because I've got a problem I need to solve.
Yeah.
And I've got a puzzle and I've got a challenge in front of me.
Yeah.
But if you remove that, this is not my favourite type of work to do because I think so much of it is internalised to me, so I don't think I'm subconsciously actually doing a lot of the work.
Already.
It's not that I don't value it.
No, that's
It's
right.
just that
You've
I'm
already
automatically doing it.
because it's so innate.
And so I find this interesting once I start to do close analysis because now I can unlock a meaning of a poem at a deeper level
Yeah.
by really getting into the meat of it.
Yeah.
But it's not like I see relevance for this to my day-to-day comprehension.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas for many students, this is actually very relevant to their comprehension, and it's just that I can't relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. After I taught this to a class, when I was a literacy coach, I was working with a teacher, and we probably had at least 1/3 kids, Pacifica Islander kids in the class, and they were doing. We'd spent 6 months like working and focusing on their like reading, and the teacher was trying to do some descriptive writing with them where they would paint like some artworks and then they have to write their own description that goes with it.
Yeah.
And she's like, their descriptions are terrible, I don't know how to help them.
And you've done all the right things, right? You're starting with student interests, you're building off their own work, you're letting them make choices about what they write about. Tick,
Yep.
tick, 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 tick.
Yep. And now we're saying to them, so when we started teaching them like this stuff, and their reading and comprehension improved, like by 6 months to a year in like a month.
Yeah.
It was nuts. I couldn't believe it. Seriously.
But that's their reading. Did it help them be able to write their own blurb, though?
It did. But we noticed the big change
Was
in their
reading.
reading. Because in their reading then, like if the comprehension question is, I don't know, what were the lions doing or whatever. They knew the words to find, right? And it was
Instead
the
of
Pacifica
realistically-
kids who moved.
So this sentence that we're looking at, really, it's in the same way that more complicated, or not just a longer text, like in that.
Yeah.
The question is is this one big sentence or is it 4 sentences? And
Yeah.
you can treat it as 4, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you take this one, and so what you're saying is that a reader who can't pick the main process and the main participant is just reading this as a list of information.
Correct.
There are golden lions.
Yep.
Lions are
They're
hungry.
Yep.
Something's under the trees.
Yep.
something's looking like there are wounds being licked.
Yeah.
And they're
They don't
not
understand the
making
relation.
the connection.
Correct.
But once you tell them this, it helps.
Yes, it does. Because if I say to them, what's this sentence about? They can go, the lions were licking their wounds. And all the extras just added information. Right? So when you ask them to summarize, boom.
What's the main participant? What's the main process? What's the main participant? What's the main process? Is summarising work is now a lot easier.
Yeah, right. And okay.
So it seems very
if
helpful
we're
for that lower order stuff, which you need as part of the package.
Yeah, or if you're evaluating the text, like, you know.
And I say lower order in the Mazzano way, like that it's identifying and locating.
That's right.
Rather than applying and synthesizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess I think what happens is you can I taught the kids this stuff in that class over maybe 6 lessons. And
makes a huge difference.
Then we were able to not use it to do sentence by sentence,
and a big part of that would have been the knowledge, but also having a shared language. And so that's what I need with my class. Is we struggled so much pulling any of this poem apart because we don't yet have a shared meta language for talking about parts of a sentence or even parts of a written extract.
Yeah,
you know, I'm pretty confident everyone knows the idea of a sentence. But beyond that, I actually don't have confidence because I know my own gaps, and I'm seeing that in them as well.
Yeah, but I mean, this is particularly complex.
Well, it is, but that is one stanza out of one verse. So there's 3 verses in this song that each have 4 stanzas in them. So there's 12 of these wrapped.
Yeah.
And then what's really beautiful about rap is then you can sit there and look at how each of those sentences and ideas as idea packages play off against each other and why they were put in that order and what lyrical effect it has or what lexical effect it has or what's going on. And that's I love it. Yeah. But density. Look at the jump.
So dense.
And we'll be doing this in definitely year 9. With shorter texts or we are definitely year 8. And so if they've missed what's the main process, what's the main participant, where do you even
they do it in early primary.
They do, but we just know there's such a lack of there's a problem with transfer of primary knowledge into secondary where they enter a new environment and they leave some behind.
Can you put this on the highest branch you can?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, we should try and do the second one, if you want to. You want me to tie it?